Vate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we'll be discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 4, text 14. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yo abhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate. So Krishna says, having said that he created these four varnas, Chaturvarnyam, according to Varnashrama system, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and whatever activities they do, they have to be responsible for that. And Krishna here he says, I am not namam karmani limpanti, just like an ordinary people are affected by their activities. They are faced with reactions of their activities. They are bound by their karma. Namam karmani limpanti. So Krishna says, there is no work that affects me. And name karma phale spruha. Karma phala means you do something in order to get a phala result from it with a desire to enjoy it. But Krishna in this world, he does not have any particular desire. He is not obligated to go work in a company or build a house or get a family or achieve some things in this world, go to higher planets, whatever it is. These are all called karma phala. Krishna has no aspiration to do any of this. Name karma phale spruha. Nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. And iti mam yo abhijanati. Yaha, anyone in this way who can understand Krishna, mam abhijanati, karma bhir nasabadhyate. He also does not become bound by this karma, his actions. So you see, for conditioned living entities, they need to follow the Varnashrama Dharma, the previous verse. Krishna divided these classes based on guna and karma. But Krishna is not one of them. Nor Krishna is responsible for a person to be born in a Brahmana or Sudra family. It is only that living entity who is responsible. So Krishna is saying basically, I am not dividing randomly as per my wish. It is you who is responsible. I am just giving you the result of your activities. And I don't belong to any of these classes. So Prabhupada writes a beautiful purport. As there are constitutional laws in the material world stating that the king can do no wrong, or that the king is not subject to the state laws, similarly the Lord, although he is the creator of this material world, is not affected by the activities of the material world. So you see, there is the saying that king can do no wrong. And the king is not subject to the state laws. Of course, in the modern day, even the president can be prosecuted. But still, some aspects of this king power is given to the president. The president can exert his executive power and sign on something. The president can pardon any prisoner from any crime. And that's there in the Constitution. Even as recent as last couple of weeks ago, the US president pardoned his own son for some crime, some activity. So this is called executive power. The king can do no wrong. Of course, when the king is a proper representative of Krishna, whatever the king's actions are supposed to be representative of Krishna's actions. because the king is Rajarshi. He is elected as a representative of Krishna. So if everybody is subject to the laws, then who can be above the laws? There has to be a judge, isn't it? The judge is not supposed to be within the law. Of course, when the judge commits a crime, it's in the material world, he is within the law. But there has to be an evaluator. Krishna is the creator. He is not a character in the novel. Just like somebody asks, he's reading a novel and he's reading about this character, that character. The author is explaining. Hey, the person may ask, hey, author, where are you in the novel? The author said, no, 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 I am the creator. I can make this character do anything I want. I am not subject to these tribulations these characters are undergoing, the framework these characters are in. Because I am the creator of the novel. I am not within this novel. So likewise, similarly, the Lord, although He is the creator of this material world, He is not affected by the activities of this material world. He creates and remains aloof from the creation, whereas the living entities are entangled in the fruitive results of material activities because of their propensity for lording it over material resources. Prabhupada gives a very wonderful example. The proprietor of an establishment is not responsible for the right and wrong activities of the workers, but the workers are themselves responsible. So that is a beautiful example. The living entities are engaged in their respective activities of sense gratification, and these activities are not ordained by the Lord. So one should understand that sometimes people say, oh, the Lord has inspired me to do this. If the Lord inspires me, I will come to temple. Or when the time comes, things will happen. So in the name of God, they justify all their activities, whereas actually they are themselves doing those activities. Krishna does not, unless you are pure devotee, Krishna does not intervene in your karma. You are the architect of your own destiny. That is why Krishna says you have to surrender with your free will. It's not that Krishna is going to come and grab you and take you to temple. With your free will, you have to express your surrender. You have to do certain things to prove that you are eligible for Krishna's intervention in your life. The other day I was giving this example of these Naxalites in South India. These Naxalites, they always attack the government. And this government announces anybody who can come and surrender, we'll give you immunity from attacks. We won't prosecute you. So the Naxalite comes and surrenders, gives up the weapons, and they abolish all the charges on him. But he has to come and report every day. He cannot go out of the state. He cannot use any weapons. He has to do certain things. But if he transgresses everything, he goes out of the state or he starts to use the weapons, but still he wants the government to give him immunity or give him all the facilities. How will the government give the facilities? Because he has not proven the conditions of surrender. He is doing whatever he wants to do and wants, oh, the government did not help me. Because you have not met the conditions of surrender. That means you are showing with your actions that you don't want the government's protection and immunity. So likewise, when we act according to what we want and not according to what Krishna wants, that is not surrender. Then the government, just like the government will not protect you, Krishna will not come into your life, Krishna will not intervene in your life. That is why Krishna says, with your free will, you have to surrender. So many times people would come to Srila Prabhupada and Prabhupada would say, no, you become a devotee, take to Krishna consciousness. And then they would say, oh, Swamiji, with your mercy, I can become a devotee. Please shower your mercy. And Prabhupada would chastise like anything. I'm already telling you, you surrender to Krishna, give up your sinful habits, take to chanting, follow the regulative principles. And you still want additional mercy? This is my mercy. I'm telling you, do this. And then you can attract the mercy of the Lord. And you don't want to do that. And Swamiji, with your mercy, everything is possible. So this is the nature of the living entity. They want to do anything and everything, but they want to blame it on God. But when something bad happens, when something good happens, they want to take credit for themselves. When something bad happens, oh, see, God has given me this. So there was this man, a worker, working on the ground floor of a building. And so there was this manager who was on the top floor, and he was shouting and he could not hear in the noise. So this manager wanted to get the attention of this worker. So he started to drop these dollar bills, these notes. And then this worker, he's happily picking it up, looking at these dollar bills, and hey, nicely dollars are coming, falling on the floor. He's busy picking up, collecting them, putting in his pocket. And then he didn't care, happily enjoying. And finally this manager, he threw a small pebble which came and fell on his hat. And then that disrupted him. And who is this? Somebody attacking me. It could have been really dangerous for me. And then he looked up and then his manager was calling. So you see how people, when something good happens, they say, oh, it's all because of me. I'll enjoy. Nothing about God comes into picture. But when bad happens, they blame it on God. The fact is that either good or bad, you are the responsible for your activities. You are responsible for your activities. As long as you are not surrendered to Krishna, you have to be responsible for your actions, whether good actions or bad actions. Good actions means charity, pious activities. Yagnadana tapah karma, for which you will get a good birth, go to higher planets, good education, Janma Ishwarya Shrutashree, good birth, good wealth, good education, and good beauty. These are all the 4 effects of good actions. And similarly, bad actions means vikarma, sinful actions, forbidden actions. You'll have to suffer. Just the opposite of this: bad birth, bad, poor, poverty, lack of beauty, lack of intelligence, lack of education, lack of health. All of these are real reactions of bad activities. So Krishna is not responsible. You are yourself responsible. Why? Because Prabhupada says here, the living entities are engaged in their respective activities of sense gratification, and these activities are not ordained by the Lord. For advancement of sense gratification, the living entities are engaged in the work of this world, and they aspire to heavenly planets, heavenly happiness after death. So recently somebody was asking me, when I was telling about, I showed one video about what is happiness in mode of goodness, which is poison in the beginning and nectar in the end. Whereas happiness in mode of passion is poison, nectar in the beginning and poison at the end, which is basically sense gratification. So he was saying, oh, why sense gratification is bad? Because after all, we have senses, and naturally we want to enjoy the senses, and I don't see anything harm in that. So I told him that yes, sense gratification, seeking sense happiness is not bad, but seeking sense gratification is bad. So I gave him the example of couple of examples. One is, say we have this itching sensation. So when you rub that portion, you feel a little happier. So the Shastra compares the sense gratification to that itching, that rubbing of that itching sensation, where you feel some sensation of happiness. It is samsparshaja bhoga that we are considering to be happiness. But if you keep on scratching, what will happen? It'll become it'll become a wound. Blood will come out, and it's a misery, isn't it? So the so-called happiness of itching or scratching is resulting in misery. Likewise, when you want to eat good food, say if somebody gives you nice sabji with very less salt, so what you will feel? It will be very tasteless, isn't it? So you will add some salt and you happily eat it. And so basically the salt is the one that gave the taste to the sabji. Just because the salt has given the taste for the sabji, if you keep on adding more salt, what will happen? It will become tasteless. Of course, to a certain extent, the taste will increase, but after that, it becomes excessively salty. And it will cause a lot of mucus and it will cause a lot of diseases in the body, excessive salt. So that which gave you taste has proved to be your cause of misery, disease. So just because the sense happiness, there is happiness in senses, doesn't mean that if you go on gratifying your senses, it will cause misery. And because of that, what will happen? You will think there is nothing else beyond the senses. And you will consider yourself to be this body. You become so attached to the body. And while that at the time of death, you only think of the body and sense happiness. And based on that, you get another animal's body. Because only in human body, you are responsible. You are given a responsibility of using the senses for a higher purpose. If you misuse those senses, you will get an animal body. An animal is only enjoying the senses. The animal does not have any higher conception. So what a great tragedy. That is why sense gratification is condemned in the scriptures. There is no harm in satisfying the senses to a certain extent, to keep the body and soul together, to live a happy, healthy life. Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata. Jivasya tattva jignasa nartoyascheha karmabhihi. You can desire a life of self-preservation and healthy living as much as your senses need. Just like you need to keep your car neat and clean and serviced so that it can take you to the destination. But if you only keep taking care of the car without usually actually driving it to the destination, what is the use of the car? So for the advance here, Prabhupada says, for the advancement of sense gratification, the living entities are engaged in the work of this world and they aspire to heavenly happiness after death. Whereas the Lord being full in himself, has no attraction for so called heavenly happiness. It's just like we take our children to the toy store and the child becomes so happy and he wants to buy that, he wants to buy this, and we are getting bored. How long you want to stay in the shop? Get out, let's go. Or you're sometimes obligated to take the children to a movie, some cartoon movie, animated movie, animation, and the child is enjoying and you are just bored and you are looking at your phone and all that, because that is not your happiness, that is a child's happiness. Your happiness is somewhere else. So the Lord's happiness is in his own spiritual world, enacting pastimes with his pure devotees. Katha ganam natyam gamanam api vamshi priyasakhi. So this people of this world, they are looking for this childish happiness like toys and those kind of things. The Lord is not attracted for those so-called heavenly happiness or sense gratificatory happiness. So Prabhupada says the proprietor never desires the low-grade happiness such as the workers may desire. That is why Name karma phale spruha. The Lord does not desire any kind of happiness from these activities of this world. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. Natat samah chabhyadikascha drishyate. There is no obligatory duty for him. We are forced, we are obligated to work. Like one car, there was this, bumper stickers. They put the bumper stickers behind the cars with the favorite tagline. So one car, there was a bumper sticker. I owe, therefore off to work I go. That means why you are working? Because you owe, you have to pay certain bills. Therefore you are obligated to work. I owe, therefore off to work I go. So everybody is forced to work. But the Lord is not like that. Everybody has desire, childish desire, sense gratificatory desire. The Lord is not like that. Namam karmani, then therefore the Lord is the creator of this world. Therefore he is not obligated, he is not getting any reactions. But without the Lord, we cannot get any happiness. Even the sense gratificatory happiness, the Lord has to grant. As a result of which, we will end up going to some animal body. Then one may ask the question, is the Lord responsible because he has granted me that desire, because of which I became addicted to sense gratification, and therefore I am going to the lower bodies? So to counter that argument, Prabhupada is giving this beautiful statement. The rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation that appear on the earth. Although without such rains, there is no possibility of vegetative growth. You see this powerful statement? See, if there is no rain, no vegetation can grow, isn't it? There are weeds, there are gardens with beautiful rose plants, there are gardens with mango trees, or there are places where cactus grows, all kinds of weeds, poisonous plants grow. There is different types of vegetation, isn't it? But for all of that, rain is important. Without rain, they cannot grow. Does it mean that rain is responsible for a poisonous plant? Rain is responsible for a rose plant? No, the seed is responsible. Based on the seed and the combination of the rain, different kinds of products are coming out. So, just because Krishna grants you what you want does not mean Krishna is responsible for your actions. Your own desires and your own free will is responsible. Because you wanted that, at all cost. In spite of Krishna advising you not to do that, you wanted to do that activity. Therefore, Krishna grants you at your own consequences. So Krishna is like the rain, without which nothing can happen. But he is not responsible for your actions. He is the supreme cause ultimately. Prabhupada says, in the material creations, the Lord is only the supreme cause. The immediate cause is material nature by which the cosmic manifestation is visible. The created beings are of many varieties, such as the demigods, human beings, and lower animals, and all of them are subject to the reactions of their past good or bad activities. So, just like this vegetation, different kinds of vegetation, different kinds of beings are there, demigods, human beings, lower animals. The Lord only gives them proper facilities for such activities, but He is never responsible for their past and present activities. So, the Lord is not responsible. In the Vedanta Sutras, it is confirmed that the Lord is never partial to any living entity. It's not that the Lord is partial, that's why only some people are becoming devatas. And the Lord is partial to certain, partially negative to certain people, therefore they are becoming Danavas. No, they are by themselves, they are cultivating. And if a living entity becomes interested in going back to Godhead, the Lord takes personal interest. Just like if for a own child, the father takes personal interest. The child says, my dad, can you help me in this test? And the dad takes personal help because the father has the love for the child. And anybody who wants to take advantage of Krishna like the father, Krishna is willing to help like the father. But if anybody does not want to take that advantage, want to lead their own life according to their wishes, Krishna will leave it to them. He's not responsible. So therefore, Prabhupada finally concludes, anyone who is fully conversant with all the intricacies of this law of karma or fruitive activities does not become affected by the results of his activities. In other words, the person who understands this transcendental nature of the Lord is an experienced man in Krishna consciousness, and thus he is never subjected to the laws of karma. Thus, but one who knows the supreme truth is a liberated soul fixed in Krishna consciousness. So the point is, do activities authorized by Krishna, do activities in surrender to Krishna. Then, just like Krishna is transcendental, we also can become transcendental, immune to all reactions of this material world. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any questions or comments? Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.